I'm Rob Thomas with Club and Resort Business, and welcome to another episode of the Club and Resort Talks podcast. Today's podcast is sponsored by Southern Aluminum. Southern Aluminum is the leading manufacturer of innovative linenless meeting and event furniture. For 45 years, they have pioneered a wide range of furniture, including meeting and banquet tables, event cocktail tables, mobile nesting buffets, mobile bar and beverage systems, retail-style shelving, and much more. Southern Aluminum's suite of linenless solutions can complement any space design through multifaceted product customization. We got that out of the way. Let's talk to Phil Keren, our senior editor. Phil, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, I don't want us to talk too much today
Right.
because you have an excellent guest, someone that is
Mhm.
known quite broadly. Jimmy
Yeah.
Hanlin, just throwing it out there. But
Yeah.
before we get to Jimmy, what do you see in the news as of late?
Well, as of late, I picked out a few things, kind of different type, three different types of projects that I saw this week in our news. Mesa Country Club out in Mesa, Arizona. They did a project. I guess they are marking their 75th anniversary this year. They have a $10 million investment into a project to modernize their irrigation system, estimated to conserve almost 21 million gallons of water each year, which apparently would be more than a 10% reduction from their current usage. So they're working with Staples Golf Design, which is based in Scottsdale, Arizona, also collaborating with their superintendent, Sergio Padilla, support from different partners, Total Turf Golf Services, Desert Reflections, Evergreen Turf, and West Coast Sand and Gravel. Their general manager out there, Nate McLaughlin, was talking about how the club is very focused on environmental stewardship, which I know we've talked about on the program. Obviously, particularly courses and clubs out west are focused on that. And he did say, yeah, we recognize water as a finite resource and wish to maintain our facility to the highest standards while being mindful of our consumption and meeting current and future water restrictions. So I think that just wanted to point that one out. That's another, we've talked before, I know, Rob, on the show about environmental issues regarding golf courses. And of course, water conservation is a big one, again, particularly for courses out west. But I feel like for many other parts of the country, it's started to become important. And we're seeing that, again, throughout the country. And I do feel like as we go forward, there will be a lot of companies that ones that specialize in this kind of an issue, water conservation and improving irrigation systems to make them more efficient, are going to do quite well in the next couple of decades, I think.
Yeah, I love seeing this kind of news. I love sharing
Mhm.
it. I posted it on LinkedIn just before you and I jumped on this call. And I think I saw the news on Monday, maybe, about the renovation. So I reached out to Nate and got some comments. Love what they're doing. I think this is kind of a proactive move. They're not overly restricted at this point. There are restrictions, obviously, but looking forward, I think he looked into his crystal ball and said this is only going to get tougher as we go on. So the irrigation work, Andy Staples, design group is wonderful in the industry. Everybody knows them. So good on Mesa Country Club, Sergio and Nate, everybody involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at, well, I'm going to break my streak, Rob. I know you were kind of joking with me. I think it was last week about how I made it through an entire news rundown without talking about a club in Florida. But we're going to break that one here today with Kensington Golf and Country Club in Naples, Florida, has launched a major clubhouse renovation and expansion project. Um, so they're going to completely gut the interior of their building, replace it with an expansive lobby with see-through views of the golf course as members come in through the front entry. And it's a project that's being done by Wegman Design Group of Naples. So it sounds like a great project there as well. Uh, Also, and this is another thing we've talked about. Well, I'm sorry, I should also mention they're going to have more covered dining space for big events like weddings, nonprofit group gatherings, things like that. But then also outside the clubhouse building, we're going to see 6 new pickleball courts to accommodate the growing interest in that sport. And there's also going to be an updated resort pool there as well. So all kinds of things happening there. And interesting to note that, yes, pickleball continues to be popular, and they're definitely going to make sure they're taking advantage of that and offering that, knowing that more and more of their members are interested in that.
Yeah, go to clubandresortbusiness.com and read that article, because I know we have a couple of renderings as well of what the facility is going to look like. And pickleball is only getting bigger. I've talked to Jarrett Chirico down in Texas. He's a member of the Directors Club. He's actually heading up the Directors Club, which is big in rackets. It's promoting the industry and the people in charge. And pickleball. It's getting bigger and bigger, and it's also helping. I talk about it every episode. Rising tide lifts all ships. Tennis is getting big, paddles growing, everything along with pickleball. So Kensington is certainly doing the right thing by adding more courts.
Yes, absolutely. Because yes, I think and it's. I think we've also talked about that before too. The pickleball. Likely it seems to also be helping out the other racket sports. I think we even talked about that in the webinar we did back in February. Was helping out tennis and then some of these newer sports we're seeing in the racket area. So good to see that Kensington is moving forward with the project. Now, one more time, I'll leave Florida. We'll only stay in Florida for one today. The University Club, downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, recently finished a big renovation as well. They've been around for a long time, 145 years. They did a big overhaul of their third floor space. Now has a newly crafted bar lounge area, added balcony, and installation of a golf simulator. Another thing we're seeing a lot of these days, especially in your northern part of the country, where we do have to, take hibernation from golf 4 or 5 months out of the year. The club they also introduced 36 private wine lockers exclusively available for their members. I thought this was an interesting comment. Their general manager there emphasized the importance of adaptation, noting that there's been sort of a shift away, a shift toward a more casual atmosphere at clubs, while also still trying to maintain a bit of an air of sophistication. So they were trying to hit that balance. And it was interesting. Before we came on here, I looked at the photos of the space, and I did feel like they kind of achieved that goal, Rob, because when I know the one particular photo really looks like a nice living room space. And then right there in front of that living room space, you see the golf simulator area and the screen. And the good news about it too is that the project was finished last November. Since then, the club membership has increased by 14%. So they're already seeing some great results from that.
Yeah, capital improvements continue to benefit the future members, the current members obviously too. But I like how they're going away from not being so staunch and so button up and letting the hair down a little bit to welcome in this generation of professionals and families. Of course, you want to feel comfortable in your space, and these people want to be a home away from home. And I know at home, I'm not wearing a shirt and tie. I'm not wearing a coat to dinner, right? Somewhere in between would be awfully nice. I don't want pajama pants walking around the club, but at the same time, a pair of khakis and a polo is just fine. So, or a nice pair of jeans and a sport coat. Let's loosen things up a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I think that was something we saw. I mean, I was thinking about this before we came on too, is that I feel like that the formality we've shifted away from that for quite a while in our society. I'd say over the last couple decades even. And then I think sorry to bring up the COVID pandemic again, but I feel like that even got accelerated during that time. An example I would give from the sports world is your basketball coaches, whether college or the NBA, always wore a suit and tie to their game, right? The head coaches. Then during COVID, we started, especially in the college ranks, we started seeing a lot of them wearing, I guess, what I would call a nice warm up, or oftentimes a fleece thing with maybe khaki pants. And I've noticed a lot of that stayed. So that's an interesting note with that as well. And I think it's a good idea for clubs to kind of hit that, as you were saying, it's a good illustration between suit versus pajama pants. Good to find something that meets in the middle between those things. I think I get a sense that most people are pretty comfortable with that and appreciate that.
Yeah, certainly. I love it. Love the trends. Love the
Mhm.
changing with the times. You don't have to be so caught up in the past that you're spurning the future in the present, obviously. But before we go any further, please tell me a little bit about, give us a little teaser about what we can expect from your conversation with Jimmy Hanlin.
Yes. So yes, Jimmy Hanlon. I had a chance to speak with him the other day. He is director. He's well, actually, first of all, he's a PGA golf professional, hosts or co-hosts four different TV programs on, and two of those shows, Blasters 18 Holes, Swing Clinic, can be seen on regional sports networks in most of the country. And then he has two more programs that are more region specific. So folks here in greater Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio, are, I'm sure, familiar with them, Pin Shot and Links to the Game. And Jimmy, in the club world, the world that we're covering, he has a couple of roles. He's the owner and director of golf at both Little Mountain Country Club out in the Concord, Painesville area of Ohio, and then also with StoneWater Golf Club in Highland Heights, Ohio. So we had a great chance to talk. I actually connected with him because he called me back about the Eclipse gathering they had at Little Mountain Country Club. That's where he was there for that, and he gave me some thoughts and comments for that. But then we had a chance to have a longer conversation about a lot of stuff. We talked about his programs. We talked about those two golf courses at both Little Mountain and Stonewater, the teaching academy that opened at Stonewater last year. We discussed as well, and we kind of finished things off talking about efforts to grow the game, the entry points to golf that you and I have talked about. He had a lot of interesting things to say about that as well as his approach to teaching golf, particularly teaching golf to beginners. So interesting and fun discussion with Jimmy Hanlon.
We had talked about, I'm a member at Stonewater, and
Mhm.
we had talked to Joe Meglin, who is the director of instruction, I believe is his official role at the Lingsman Academy. So I'm going to have to visit Joe before the season to kind of brush up on some of my fundamentals. And I look forward to seeing Jimmy out on the golf course, hopefully at some point this summer. Thank you very much for your time, Phil. Let's get to Jimmy.
Welcome back to Club and Resort Talks. I'm Phil Keren, senior editor of Club and Resort Business Magazine. Well, I'm excited to welcome Jimmy Hanlon to our program. Jimmy is a PGA golf professional who co-hosts several TV programs involved with golf. He hosts Swing Clinic with Claire Hogle, also co-hosts a program called Blasters 18 Holes with LPGA professional Natalie Gulbis. Both programs air on most regional sports networks across the country. Jimmy also hosts Pin Shot and Links to the Game on Bally Sports Great Lakes and Bally Sports Ohio. So people who live Northeast Ohio, greater Cleveland area will see those programs as well. Also hosts a radio program, Tee It Up with Jimmy Hanlin and Tony Grossi on ESPN Cleveland Radio. From a club standpoint, he is the owner and director of golf at both StoneWater Golf Club in Highland Heights, Ohio, and the Little Mountain Country Club in Painesville, Ohio. And my pleasure to welcome him. Jimmy, welcome to Club and Resort Talks.
Phil, after you just talked about that, I think I have too many jobs listening to all that. I got to cut it back a little bit. Start looking
Yes.
at. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Yes, and I got a little tired just reading all that stuff just now about that. Well, hey, I watched your programs before, as I was mentioning to you before we came on. Definitely watch Swing Clinic the most as a weekend golfer myself. It's always helpful to get some more tips. Can never have too many of them for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, and actually, so 18 Holes was our original show that came out, and it started as kind of like a public golf course. It was originally called Tee It Up Ohio, which we started on Sports Time Ohio, a new network in the mid 2000s, and then it became once Fox Sports became involved and bought Sports Time Ohio, we took that show across the country, and it became just a travel destination golf show, right? Where we go around and we show people where to play golf and great places to eat afterwards and what to do. I was joined by Natalie Gulbis, which is one of the most famous LPGA players in the history of the game. She's just so marketable. Her brand's incredible. People just love her. It's hard to do a show with her, honestly, because she never says no to an autograph or a picture, and so that doubles the time for us to typically do that. She's wonderful. But the reason I go down that road is because Swing Clinic was created off of 18 holes because people wanted more instruction, like you said. So what the feedback that Fox was getting was like, hey, listen, we love 18 holes, but can we get Natalie and Jimmy to give us more instruction? And so we said, well, let's just create a new show instead of trying to jam more into there, because we've got a lot to show when we go show these great golf courses. So we created the Swing Clinic, which is really just really full instruction. I've used different golf influencers across the country to kind of be my co-host. My current is Claire Hogle right now. Claire is a great, she was a college golfer and has a great golf swing and understands how to really get it across the lens, right? To help me teach you how to hit the right shots. And honestly, Phil, we really try to be broad in our instruction, right? I'm not trying to teach the guy that's a one handicap solely. I'm not trying to teach the person that just picked up a club yesterday. You know, we try to help seniors. We try to help females. We try to help juniors. We try to be as broad as we can when we do these programs, because that's the way the game is growing right now. And so hopefully we can help it grow a little bit through that instruction.
Excellent. Speaking of back on 18 holes, do you have any preview you can share of upcoming destinations for the show?
Yeah. So our shows every year start at about the end of April, right? You know, we run during baseball season. We're you'll catch us on rain delays, you know, and those types of things. So I know I'll lose some fans here a little bit, but I grew up, even though I grew up in Ohio, I'm a Raider fan, right? So I grew up a Raider fan, which was that's a long story in itself. So our first two episodes that we shot this year, we went out during the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and we shot at a place called Bears Best at a celebrity shootout, which that's not a normal format for us. Normally, we're usually just showing the golf course or whatever, but we had this opportunity to do this. So I got the opportunity to play with, interview guys like, actually a celebrity shootout was brought to you, but their shootout was by Charles Woodson and Santonio Holmes. So former Buckeye there, right? So, but the guys that I got to meet, Marcus Allen, Tim Brown, Willie Galt, tons of former Raiders because we were out in that area, but also guys like Doug Flutie. It was really great. It was, and I could go on and on. So those shows will air the beginning of May. But to me, it's really fun to watch guys that are done with the game and fall in love with golf. And these guys were all like that. Marcus Allen, I couldn't get him. Listen, he was probably one of my favorite players of all time. And by the end of that day, I couldn't get away from him because he just wanted so much more golf instruction, right? So you'll see a little bit of that this year. I'm actually jumping in our 18 holes RV. We're headed to Tampa day after tomorrow. We're going to do a place called Stream Song, that has 3 public golf courses, all ranked in the top 100 in the country. We're going to head up to Cabot Citrus Farms, which is in Florida. But we really try to cover the whole country and just show you different places to try to play golf. And we also try to hit the different places, not the ones that all cost $350, right? We try to catch affordable places where, Phil, if you say, I'm going to go on a golf vacation, hopefully you saw my show and you saw somewhere you want to go play. And Natalie and I try to show as much as we can in our half-hour programs to help you do that.
Excellent. Hey, talk a little bit, though, too, now on Pin Shot and Links to the Game. I know this show's probably not on the national level, people not as familiar with those. So I thought it'd be great to have you share about each of those too.
Yeah. So Pin Shot's a Challenge to Golf for Part 3 show where, we've got the drones over top and the cameras everywhere. And the golfer hits a shot from right around 150 yards. If they knock it in a hole, they win a brand new car. If they get it on the green, they win a prize. And then I challenge them to say, hey, listen, there's a 25-foot circle out there. You want to try to knock it in that. But if you do, you lose that. If you don't, you lose that first prize, right? And I host it with longtime sports legend Tony Rizzo. And I'm fortunate enough to have my earpiece in and get to hear everything he says, even the stuff that doesn't get on television. And I laugh so hard, Phil, for an hour and a half while I do that show, just listening to him. And it's honestly in Ohio probably become our most popular show. The other shows I've been doing forever, but it's fun to watch average golfer out there put a golf club in his hand. The cameras are on like you would be on TV, and just see their reactions. And it's just really enjoyable. And then, I forgot, Links to the Game. Sorry, I didn't get to Links to the Game. Links to the Game is a show that we've been doing for probably about 10 years now. My first show I ever did at Links to the Game, it's just me playing golf with current and former athletes and professionals, watching them play the game, but also trying to get them to tell us stories that maybe we've never heard before from the locker rooms or from the fields. My first one ever was with Albert Bell, which was just, Albert's been a friend of mine for a while, but it was a treat. And Charles Nagy and Rick Manning hosted that show with me there. And so I've had people on that show from Urban Meyer to lots of the Blue Jackets, Brandon Dubinsky and Nick Foligno, the captain there from the Blue Jackets for a while. We've had Archie Griffith and Clark Kellogg did the show together with us. I did not know how close of friends they are, and they are thick as thieves and very, very close friends. Yeah. Last year we had Shane Bieber, Zach Plezak, and Ernie Clement on the show. All three of them are single-digit handicaps and great players. And so it's been a lot of fun for me to meet a lot of these athletes that obviously we get to watch play different sports. And I've thoroughly enjoyed that show. I'd probably have to tell you it's my favorite. It's my favorite one, just because I get to know these guys, and usually that friendship lasts beyond that hour show that we do, and it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. And we were talking before we came on here, and I wanted to bring this up so the whole audience could hear. So who you dropped a lot of names of well-known athletes, especially here in Ohio. Which of those athletes would you say is the best golfer?
So the hockey players are really good, right? All of them are very good. They just have that move hockey-wise that's really, really good. I think I told you out there, the most competitive human being that I've ever been around, and I found out while doing this show, is Urban Meyer, right? Urban Meyer wanted to beat me from the time he shook my hand in the locker room when we first met, right? Urban is just a competitive guy, and I've got to know Urban since then, and we've played some golf together. Just love the guy. But he loves to win, man. He just loves to win. I'll give you one more that we didn't talk about off air that I actually forgot about. I've done so many of these shows that I kind of forget. Probably one of the most fun times I've ever had on a golf course in my entire life was with Freddie Kitchens, former coach from the Cleveland Browns. I could spend every day of my life with Freddie Kitchens. He had me laughing for 18 holes. He's a good golfer. People don't realize how great of an athlete and a quarterback Freddie was at Alabama back in his days. He obviously came into a tough time here for the organization at Cleveland, and things didn't work out. But Freddie was just you could ask my whole crew. Most of my crew has been with me for the full time, the 15 plus years I've been doing this show. And I bet you that most of them would tell you that Freddie was one of their favorite people that we've ever done the show with, for sure.
Excellent. A lot of fun. I did want to shift gears a little bit I was reading your bio there as we started. You of course have prominent roles with a couple clubs here in Northeast Ohio, StoneWater Golf Club in Highland Heights and Little Mountain Country Club in Painesville. Tell our audience a little bit about the golf courses themselves. What are the sort of distinctive characteristics of each of them?
Yeah, so it's funny because they're both designed by the same firm, Herds and Fry. And actually, we used to own one in Columbus that we sold. There was also a Herds and Fry, and that's all coincidence, actually, too, funny enough. But they're completely different, even though they're only about 25 minutes apart. Highland Heights, StoneWater is very flat, a lot of water on the golf course, a lot of hazards. And it's a difficult golf course. They played the Cleveland Open there. Jason Day won his first ever professional event at StoneWater Golf Club and met his wife the same week there when he played in that event. Jason and I have talked about that many times. And so and StoneWater is kind of more of a full service type place, right? StoneWater has a full restaurant that is just, the food is incredible. The Knightis family is as our partners there. They just do an amazing job with their weddings and events and food, and it's just really, really good. Then you go over to Little Mountain that's just, again, 25 minutes east in Concord, Painesville area, 150 feet of elevation change, where StoneWater's elevation change is 8 feet from highest to lowest point. Little Mountain is 150 feet of elevation change. Views of Lake Erie at Little Mountain are just absolutely breathtaking. And it's just a really fun golf course. It's a fun golf course play. I actually live at Little Mountain. I've been there before they even planted the grass. I started at Little Mountain in 1998 with the first ownership group, years and years ago. And it's a fun golf course to play. So the thing that I like about it is they're both great, but they're both different, right? And that makes it a lot of fun.
Excellent. As I understand it, back actually on StoneWater, you had a Linksman Golf Academy opened at StoneWater last year. We tell us about that academy a little and what is offered there.
Yeah. So, the growth of the game that you and I have talked about, and I'm sure we'll talk about more, it's been incredible. And part of that is instruction and club fitting, right? That part of it is blowing up. And, as many good business people see, you have to really take advantage of all opportunities when it comes to opening a business. And with us, if we just sat there and collected greens fees, we wouldn't exist anymore, right? That's why we created the restaurants and all this and the stuff that we have at StoneWater. So with the growth of the game happening, we started the Linksman Golf Academy. We currently have, including myself, 6 full-time teaching instructors there at the Linksman Golf Academy with 200 plus years of experience, from Bob Bourne, who's a master club professional. Joe Meglin has been teacher of the year of the Northern Ohio PGA. We hired him 2 years ago, and he's just so busy you can't even believe it. Brian Huff was the original golf pro at Redtail and opened it up. when I opened up Little Mountain in the mid '90s, he's now a full-time instructor for us. So it's the fastest growing, Phil, part of our business right now. We built this academy with the TrackMan technology. So it gives, our instructors and our students the ability to kind of see a little more information than you used to be able to see. I kind of compare it to like going to the doctor, right? You used to go to the doctor and you just had to trust what the doctor said, right? Doctor said you had the flu. Doctor said, yeah, that's what he said. And you didn't get to see anything. Well, now if you're a golf pro, not only, and it used to be that way in golf, listen, you're doing this is how it is. Now there's so much information with this technology, and this TrackMan provides it, that I could give you a lesson, Phil, and then you could go hit balls on the TrackMan, whether it be in our simulators that are within our Linksman Academy, or go out to the driving range, which in my opinion is one of the best practice facilities in Northeast Ohio. And you see those TrackMan numbers and help you understand a little bit more about what you're doing wrong. And hey, did I actually fix what Jimmy was telling me? Or am I just doing what still feels good, which most people like to do, right? So technology is incredible. Our Linksman Golf Academy is growing at a rapid pace. We just keep hiring instructors because we have so much demand for it. And then the other side of that is really the fitting side of it. Getting people to if you're going to spend the money on golf clubs, and golf clubs are not inexpensive. Let's just, everybody knows that it's an expensive purchase. But if you're going to do that, let's get something that fits you, right? Let's get something that Phil, I'm not sure how tall you are. I'm 6'4", and and one of our golf professionals there at StoneWater is 5'8". There's no chance that him and I should be playing the same golf clubs, right? It's not going to work for both of us. But for a long time in the game of golf, that's what happens. You walked into a sporting goods store or a golf store and you bought them off the rack, and that's what you did. That world's changed now. And so that's been a really exciting thing for us. The Linksman Academy's been exciting, and it's, like I said, it's the fastest growing part of our business, which is really fun.
That is great. And actually kind of lets me segue into something else with that. And you and I were talking off air about this a little bit, that golf, my co-host Rob Thomas and I on this podcast, we often talk about various trends within the game of golf. Sometimes in the context of club and resorts, but sometimes just in the context of the game itself. And as you and I are both familiar with, the game of golf saw a big boost in interest during COVID. We don't really talk about COVID otherwise, but that era for golf was very helpful for the game. We saw a lot of growth in the game. I guess what I'm curious about, though, is, I guess it would be a two-part question there. Did you see that growth happening at the two clubs that you work at, and what do you think are the keys to kind of sustaining that growth as we go down the road here?
Yeah, well, Phil, I'll tell you, when COVID first hit, I thought it was going to be a nightmare for golf. Right. I'm out there with scrub brushes after somebody gets off of a cart, scrubbing the handles and scrubbing the floors and putting dividers in. And like, I was like, are you kidding me? How long am I going to have to do this forever for people to ride in a cart together? Like, it was so scary for the game of golf. Health departments were shutting us down. We couldn't surf. It was just such a scary time for the world. We all know. And in golf, I was like, wow, if we have to do this forever, this is going to be difficult to sustain. Right. And then obviously things opened up into the world a little bit. And so we saw a tremendous growth from that. And we didn't just see a tremendous growth in, in playing. We saw a tremendous growth in people, again, purchasing clubs because they were playing, people falling back in love with the game. I think, it brought a lot of new people to the game. There's no doubt about it. It brought a lot of people. They didn't have anything else to do. But to me, the cool thing was, I think a lot of people fell in love with the game again that maybe kind of put it away for a little bit because it was either too expensive or they had kids in other sports or they just, they got away from it for some reason or another. And most people had got them back out there again and got them to play the game. And honestly, Phil, we have not seen the downturn backwards again to level out at this point right now. It stayed extreme level or to, I hate to say this, if I had some wood around here, I'd knock on it. It's actually still growing for us at our clubs right now, even past COVID. And it's good and bad, for the consumer. It's great for us is because we had a lot of years where golf was a struggle. Honestly, as owners, it was hard to put money back into the golf courses. It was hard to do things because the money just wasn't there, right? It was people weren't playing the game. Now we're able, at both of our golf courses, we're doing complete bunker renovations at both of our golf courses, which is something we could not have afforded to do before. And we're able to put back into our product. It's almost like the airlines. The game's getting more expensive across the country because the demand, right? There were too many golf courses for a while. Now I'm sitting there going, wow, maybe there might not be enough in some areas, in some places. So I have a good friend of mine that was out in Arizona during it was actually during that Super Bowl time. And there's a golf course out there called Greyhawk, great 36-hole facility. And he went online on Golf Now to look to play. And Greyhawk's typically probably a $300 golf course. It was during the Waste Management Week is when it was. And it was $800 to play Greyhawk. And he was like, are you kidding me? It's not Pebble Beach. I mean, Greyhawk's great. Let me tell you, I think the place is awesome. But the demand was there for them to be able to charge that. So for the consumer, the price is getting driven up a little bit because the demand is there because so many people are playing. But I just think that there's so many people that fell back in love with the game. These young kids are playing golf at a crazy rate right now. And you and I have talked about our own kids even doing that. And to me, again, I'm 53 years old, and I never thought we'd see a time, Phil, when it was better than the Tiger era. And golf is in a better place from a consumer and a golf course standpoint than the Tiger era. It is the best place it's ever been since I've been there. Now, don't get me started on the tour because that's a whole nother thing we can talk about. But golf in general is in the best place that I've ever seen it in my years. And I've been in the golf business I've been working in a pro shop since I was 10. So I got 43 years being in the golf business right now.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. And you're right. Interesting. You were mentioning the things about people falling back in love with golf and young people in taking a great interest in golf, because that does reflect my own life. I would say I played in high school, through other various jobs, having jobs, raising a family, kind of got out of golf because, your family takes the priority. We know golf is all about time and money, right? You got to have all that to have it work. And I had the opportunity with my own sons to kind of fall back in love with the game and remember what I loved about it in the first place. So it's been a fun journey for me with that as well here. But and it's interesting. You mentioned, though, you said it so far at the clubs you're at, you haven't really seen a downturn. But I guess maybe a message to your fellow head pros, what do you think? I mean, it's just a matter of continuing to do the same things you're doing now, or is there anything else that needs to happen to kind of keep that growth sustained or even further, I guess?
I think that, let's not fall back into the old curmudgeon-y, way that the country clubs could be back in the day and stuff. And and really welcome the young people, right? Welcome the people that maybe guy walks in and didn't really understand that, kid walks in, didn't really understand that you had to wear a collared shirt and no cargo shorts. Now that can still be your rule. That's fine, right? But let's make sure we communicate him in a welcoming way to say, hey, listen, man, I love that you love the game of golf and I'm excited for you. We got to get you into the right apparel. We got to do what we got to do to get you to do that or whatever. But just making these young kids just feel welcome on the golf course is going to go a long way. And again, you and I talked a little bit off air about this, but the growth in golf for young kids right now that are non-kids trying to play competitive, right? They're the kids that are, my own son, right? His name's Palmer. My middle son, his name's Palmer. And he really doesn't have interest in ever becoming his dad and being a golf pro. He really doesn't even have interest. He's a very good basketball player and really doesn't have any interest in playing on the golf team in high school probably either, right? He's getting good, so he's going to get some pressure pretty soon. But the thing is that he just likes to play with his friends, right? They like to go out there and they just like to play. And so I really hope that golf courses accept that. I really hope that golf courses promote that. And try to keep these, because that's our future, right? That's our future moving forward is that happening. And if we can continue to make these kids feel comfortable and want to get them out there and get their friends out there too, this game's going to be in a good place for a really, really long time. And I can tell you, I remember, again, I've told you my age too many times, but I was about 8 or 9 years old and I was out on a golf course, and I grew up on a public golf course where guys wore t-shirts. Guys wore no shirts sometimes if they want to, right? And I remember holding these two guys up with me and my buddy one time, and they were screaming at us and yelling at us, and we were scared to death to go back there for a week, right? And I still remember that 40 years later, and I don't know where that guy's at in the world. I'd love to talk to him now, but show him where I'm at. But at the end of the day, we can't do that, right? We really got to make these younger people feel comfortable and have fun, right? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually as we're here talking and I'm hearing everything you're saying, I think that will be a huge key to it, is that I think for a very, very long time, golf had that sort of an image problem, a perception problem among some people, and that it had, like you were talking about, all the different sort of rules and etiquette that go along with the game of golf. I was fortunate that I had a dad that kind of showed me what was going on. Not everybody has that happening for them. And so I think that sort of loosening of the formality of golf has probably already helped it and will continue to help it as we move forward in these years to come, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. I can't agree more.
One other point I wanted to bring up too, as far as sort of trends we're seeing in golf that Rob and I have discussed on the program, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, is that we're seeing more we always kind of use the phrase more entry points to the game than there used to be. It used to just be you went to a golf course or maybe you went to a driving range. That was about it. Miniature golf wasn't really real golf anyway, so that's not part of it. But now we're seeing places, commercial level top golf. Tiger Woods, of course, has the pop stroke putting courses, places that are often called golfertainment. We've seen that new word coming up here. Also, clubs and resorts opening short courses, some places where there's a 12-hole layout. You were mentioning Streamsong. I believe they have one 12-hole layout down there now as well. Some course clubs offer putting courses. So just your thoughts on what do you think that means for the game? How will that impact the game to have these newer, I guess I would call them newer and less formal entry points to the game?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great for the game. I think Top Golf has done great things for the game of golf. I really do. Got people that probably never thought they'd pick up a golf club that goes and has a little fun and it grows into something else. I think it's amazing. I have other jobs. I guess I have to bring up too that I didn't even tell you earlier. I do consult a lot for some different projects. Right now, I'm working with the city of Westlake. And when we started on this 3 or 4 years ago, and Westlake's a great city. They're just very progressive. Everything they do, Westlake, Ohio, everything that they do is very, they want to make sure that all their amenities in the city are good for everybody, right? So my goal when I started working with them, Phil, was to say, okay, listen, I want golf to be available if you have 30 minutes, if you have 45, if you have an hour, you have an hour and a half, you have 2 hours, you have 4 hours. let's create enough for all this. So, right now we're working on a project. We're in phase 1. We're going to build a practice facility that is going to have covered areas that has, heated bays. We've looked at potential short course. We've looked at building a reversible 9-hole course that's in the potential in the process right now of, all the plans that we're doing. We, like you said, we have a huge putting course that we're putting on there, putting green that we're involving into this. So my goal would be, if you're driving home and you live in Westlake or you're driving by Westlake, if you have a half hour, you go hit a bucket of balls. If you have an hour, maybe you go play the 9-hole short course. You have 2 hours, let's go play the regulation 9 holes. And if it ends up being reversible, then you play it twice or do it differently. So there's all kind of different things to do. And I think that's the way people have to start thinking when you're thinking about golf. And then also, and I live an hour from Westlake. I don't know how I'm getting all these projects, but I'm also helping a guy on another project where we're building an indoor golf facility, 7 TrackMan bays, big putting green, because unfortunately we don't live in Florida or Arizona, and there's 5 months where you really can't play golf. And so the technology to be able to play golf and practice golf in these indoor facilities, the one we're doing right now is over on Viking Parkway. It's going to be called Viking Golf Club. And it's, again, it's keeping people involved for 12 months, right? I love bowling when I grow up, but I hope we hurt their business a little bit, because that's all there is to do is bowl in Cleveland, Ohio in the wintertime. We want to provide a little golf ability, from that side of it. So, so like you said, that on top of what Tiger's done with Pop Stroke, and the courses, we're going to visit Cabot Citrus Farms, which is right above Stream Song. They actually have a lighted par 3 golf course that stays open till 11 or 12 o'clock at night for people staying there and playing. So all those amenities and all those things, just to me, Phil, my whole goal in life, and it's funny because a lot of people have always said to me, how do you go and do radio shows and TV shows from people's places that you don't own? Like, you're trying to make a living, you're trying to get that customer. And my whole concept in golf has always been, listen, I want to get clubs in as many people's hands as I can. They'll fall in love with the game. I'll help them do that. And there'll be plenty of golfers for everybody everywhere around the world. And that's always been how I've tried to do it, to make people enjoy the game. And hopefully I've done a decent job at that. But I think that's the key. Like you just said, anything we can get a club in somebody's hands, we're doing a good job.
Excellent. Hey, I wanted to shift gears here to kind of wrap up the interview. I was interested in knowing when you instruct, when you're doing work as an instructor. So, and I'm guessing perhaps you've had more beginners you've worked with over these last few years. What is your approach in working with a beginning golfer, like a true beginner, like somebody doesn't even know how to grip the club, they don't know how to address the ball?
Yep.
What's the approach there? Yeah.
So I'll give you this first of all. That's my most enjoyable person personally that I like to teach, because I see improvement more, right, than teaching a one handicap that the ball goes 2 yards offline and he wants to know why it went 2 yards offline, right? I love teaching new golfers because it goes from them whiffing the ball to me being able to get it up in the air and watching it go, and their faces are just so happy. So that is number one. The feedback that I've got through my years from my shows and my instruction is that they love watching my shows and taking lessons from me because I keep it very simple, Bill. Like, I try to stay simple. I don't give people very many things. I'm sure people have walked away from a lesson from me like, I can't believe I just paid him that much money. He only told me that. But I always tell them, I promise you that if we get going anymore into more stuff, your head's going to spin and you're not going to enjoy the game. I start with the grip. I would say 9 out of 10 people that I give golf lessons to, whether it be beginners or anybody, they rarely have a grip that's going to help them be successful. And I work on posture, and I work on just really getting them set up to the golf ball properly, right? And it is that way. I mean, I hate to say this. I was a pretty good baseball player as growing up all the way through high school and into college. And so I work on the same thing with my son's hitting, right? I work on it. I don't work on, where he steps or where his bat is in his backswing. I work on his posture. I get him in the right position. So bad things, when you have bad posture or when you have bad fundamentals, other things happen that probably wouldn't happen if you were using the right fundamentals. So I really stick to fundamentals a lot in the game. I keep it very simple. And usually I get great results from that.
Yeah, excellent. It's true. As you were talking, it reminds me, and I try to tell my sons that with golf, is that you do so much work before you ever actually swing the club. And so there's so many key points in terms of grip and set, like you were saying, uh, posture, where the ball's played in relation to your feet and everything else that
Yeah.
so much goes into the starting point before you ever actually even take the club back. So
Yep.
that's definitely key for sure.
No doubt about it.
And actually, then the other question I was interested to ask you is: has your approach to instructing in golf changed since you first started in the past? There,
Oh yeah, I listen, Phil.
how has it changed?
The best golf information that I ever got, I stole. Trust me. I love watching good instructors teach. We have our director of instruction, Joe Meglin, he was a junior golfer when I was an assistant pro at Quail Hollow Country Club, right? Like he's probably, I don't know exactly, but he's at least 15 years younger than me. I learned from him every time I watch him give a golf lesson. Bob
Mhm.
Bourne, like I said, same thing. I'm very fortunate, because Natalie's worked with Butch Harmon forever. So I get a lot of good, stuff from Butch. I love learning new things. I learn every time that I watch somebody give a golf lesson. I watch the Golf Channel. I love stealing things. I love the way I more like to watch people and how they communicate.
Mhm.
I like to understand how somebody communicates and gets it across to somebody because it's always different, right? And my way is not the best way all the time, right? So I feel like I'm learning every day, Phil. Honestly, I feel like I become a better instructor every day because I'm open to really just learning from other people and stealing some good ideas. I'm all about it.
Okay, very good, excellent. Um, what is, I guess, and on that point, with we were talking a little bit about growing the game and everything. What to kind of round this out here? What would be your advice to fellow head golf professionals about the best ways to grow the game? I know we've already touched on some, but maybe to kind of summarize it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the best way to really grow the game is just be excited to be there, right?
Mhm.
If they see you as being excited to be there, then those people are gonna want to be there. Try to bring people into the game that if their first answer is I don't like golf or I've never been around golf, still try to get a club in their hands. Like I said, my whole goal, my whole life is just to put a club in somebody's hands. I rarely have somebody put a club in their hands, give me 5 minutes with them, and they say, this isn't for me, right? It really rarely happens. And so to really, again, I'll go back to my whole thing that I said before, just get a club in their hands, let them have just a tiny bit of success. And normally if you do that, it grows, it gets in your belly and it grows from there. And that's normally what happens. And that's my advice, really. Put the club in their hand, allow them to enjoy it, right? I'm not a big rules guy, and sometimes people with my golf courses, especially my staff, they don't love that. Listen, I had rules in school and I had rules from my parents. I go out on a golf course. I mean, if people aren't hurting other people's experience, go
Mhm.
do what you do and enjoy yourself and have fun. That's how I look at the game.
Excellent. Great message. Great message to end on. Well, Jimmy Hanlon, I thank you for being with us today. I appreciate it. Best of luck to you here with all the programs,
Great.
with both courses and the work you're doing out there in Westlake as well. Good luck to you with everything. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Phil. Truly appreciate it.
Great. And for folks watching today or listening, just as a reminder, you can go to clubandresortbusiness.com to see more of these podcasts, Club and Resort Talks podcasts. Um, check those out there with both Rob Thomas and I. Take care, stay well, and have a great day.